So we just recently saw a huge controversy over Jimmy Kimmel being pulled off the air, and I talk a lot about how media creates controversy and they basically pit us against each other in order to make money because that's what they do. They've done that actually since the founding of our country, except we've never really seen it done to this level before. And here's why and how that happened. And this is important to know because we have to raise our kids differently these days. We have to raise them to think critically about everything that they see on their phones, TV, virtually everywhere, because media fluence is now everywhere, and that's without even considering the AI revolution, which is currently happening. What most people don't realize these days is everything we watch, read, or listen to is controlled by just a handful of media companies. In the 1980s, the US had over 50 major media companies, but today that number has shrunk to just five. There's Comcast, Disney, Warner Brothers Discovery, Paramount, and Fox. Those five own 90% of the US media right now. Just five companies. Now they own the majority of TV networks, movie studios, publishing houses, even parts of the internet. How this massive consolidation was allowed to happen in the first place was basically due to the Telecommunications Act of 1996. That is what deregulated media ownership and allowed corporations to buy up all forms of media basically without limits. So, local TV stations, newspapers, radio outlets, everything. So, the result of all that is you have just these five major corporations controlling everything. So, we have fewer independent voices, there's less diversity in coverage, and now the content is really just being shaped by whatever those corporate interests are, which basically is to make as much money as possible. They do that by pitting us all against each other. Now, when the media is driven by profit, truth often takes the back seat, as we've all realized. So the news outlets are prioritizing stories that attract viewers, get clicks, get advertisers, not necessarily the ones that are actually informing the public. So basically, the focus is on sensationalism. A good example of that is you see mass shootings receiving extensive media coverage, but everyday gun violence, especially in marginalized communities, it really gets largely ignored. Now, this creates a massive distortion in the public perception of crime. In fact, most people will tell you that right now violent crime is worse than it's ever been in their entire life. And that's despite the fact that violent crime in the US has actually dropped by nearly 50% since 1993. So we're literally safer from violent crime right now than at any other time in modern history. But it just doesn't feel that way to most people thanks to that profit driven media. So the next time you're scrolling, watching the news, ask yourself, who owns this platform? What are they trying to sell me? Because even more, we need to teach our kids to do the same. They have to think critically. And if you can, support independent journalism and try to push back against that corporate control.